Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Trent. Hope you're having a good Sunday out there. It was daylight savings time in the US this this morning, I guess. Either ended or started, whatever. It's a different hour, but hopefully you're all here. You made it in one piece, hopefully. Hi MTM. Hi Brian, Hector, Muriel. Some new news. So for those who haven't been here before, typically I kind of have a main subject here, and then we kind of talk about I answer some questions that were on my videos throughout the week. Today I've also put in a viewer design feedback session because one of my viewers sent me some kind of a portfolio of some graphic design pieces they want feedback on, so we'll look at that afterwards. Hi Teek. Oh yeah, no internet last week, 28 hours. Ouch, that sounds quite painful. Hi Breezer, hi 2112 first, Saul, Watcher, IH, John Jones. Hope you're all doing well. So just kind of recap this week. I released some videos. I was kind of focusing on some non-Affinity things this week. I released a couple of Canva videos. But also for those of you guys that are into video editing, you might want to check out this one I did on the Gling AI editing tool. Something I've been using for a couple months now. It's this tool that can automatically cut dead space out of your videos, which has been done before, but the nice thing it actually does is also removes bad takes and like repetitions, which if you've ever recorded video, you know that nothing is really perfect on the first take. If you saw a raw video of my videos, you'd understand that. So it's kind of a cool thing that I've been using. I just kind of want to make a video out of it in a tutorial. It shows a little bit of my technique on editing videos as well. So that might be one you want to check out. I'll scroll down here. Hi, Luigi. So yeah, Affinity released their 2.6 beta within the last week or so. And there's kind of two main topics that I think are the ones that are the most interest of people, this object selection and subject selection. So we'll go over some examples of that. And then there's this page management option for Affinity Publisher as well. I'll show you a little bit about that. And then there's some kind of miscellaneous things. So kind of first of all, in terms of the beta, it's kind of, as far as I know, it's open to anyone that has bought Affinity. So there's this beta program. If you're interested in it, you can register for it. And I believe if you've purchased Affinity, I think it's fairly straightforward to get in. So this is the website. If you Google it, you can sign up for it. But once you do it on your account on the web page, you have your keys for the programs that you can install. And then you also have like keys to download the betas. And they're separate executables now. There's a couple different options, and now it's like an executable again. I think for a while, I'm talking from the Windows perspective, of course, but the betas are available on all the OSs. But it's a little bit better isolated than it used to be. So you can sign up for it here if you want. The programs are better isolated from each other than they used to be, and this is where you can get into it. And as far as I know, like if you apply, you should get in if you're curious. Let's see. There's also a forum post with the changes if you want to read through it. So their forums always have kind of good information here. And if you scroll through, like the developers have listed the different things that are improved here. And let's see. Let's go to the first example here. So the first thing I'll look at is the object selection. So I downloaded the Affinity beta here. So this is my beta instance. Now they're calling them these machine learning tools. So this is the object selection and the subject selection. And the first thing you need to do is install the models for it. So these are files that kind of have the data that helps them find objects or subjects in a image that you have. So the way you do that is once you install the beta or you install 2.6 when it's finally out, you go to Edit and then Settings here. And then there's going to be this tab here, or this section that says Machine Learning. So if you click on that, then you'll have to go, and I already did it to save time, of course, but you'll have to install these two models. So there's a segmentation model, and you would click Install over here. And then there's the saliency model, and you would click Install over here. One is for one is for select subject. The bottom one's for select subject. This top one is more for the object selection. So you need to install these separately. And it goes by fairly quickly. It's not a problem. My understanding from reading the forums is that a different company might be making these models. So I don't know if Affinity directly trains them or not. But yeah, let's kind of see what they do. So let's look at object selection a little bit. Hi, RB. So object selection is going to let you select different kind of conceptual objects in your image, I guess you could say about them. And this is going to be this icon over here, this kind of like owl icon. So this is the new thing right there, that owl. So I'll click on this, and it's going to kind of think a little bit. It gives you this icon. It looks like a little clock, and it doesn't really animate or anything. It's just there. But now I have this crosshair. And if I hover over things in my image, well, I'm on the wrong layer. Let me go here. Yeah. Now you can see like it's actually trying to find different subjects here. So I can hover over different things. And if you can see that, it's it has those gridded lines here, so it's finding the subjects. And when you hover over it, you kind of pause for a second, and then it kind of outlines what it thinks is the subject. Now, the interesting thing, of course, is like, what can you actually do with this? Well, what you can do is you can click, and then it makes a selection around that object. And you can continue clicking other things too, so maybe I want to click this red ball here. So now the red ball is added to that selection, and I can add in the 8 ball here, so I'll click that. And that gets added too. Now up here you have your mode. So these are kind of the different operations of how each object you select will be added or subtracted from your selection. So I could go here to subtract. Hi Gerard. And maybe I want to get rid of the red ball here. So if I click this, now you can see the red ball is not selected anymore. It's only my the 8 ball and the yellow ball here. So that's kind of like the key aspect of it. And let me see. So we also have this option here of soft edges. I'll talk about the multi-part thing a little bit. But we have soft edges. So for example, let's say, let me unselect it. I'll have soft edges selected. Let me select this ball here. So I'll select the 8 ball. Whoops, I have the wrong mode. I have to go back to add. So I'll select the 8 ball. And I'll add a pixel layer. So I'll call this my soft selection. So if I paint in it, I didn't set up my brushes or anything on this new instance of Affinity that I installed. Let's see here. So it's a soft selection. So if I unselect it now, if I zoom in, you can see it's kind of soft there. A little bit of a soft edge to the selection. I can do a hard selection also. So let's do that. So I'll go to the object selection tool. Let's take off soft edges. Let's do this one here. Oh, let's do some other one. Let's do the 8 ball. So I'll select that. Call this hard selection. So this will be probably more solid edge. So you can kind of see the difference, hopefully. If I zoom in as much as I can. Kind of got them on opposite sides, but the top part, you can see this very rough edge there for the hard selection, for the non-soft selection, and then down here is the softer selection. So this is what we talked a little bit about last week. I'm making a video on this. Selections can have a fuzzier edge to them. But that's just kind of an interesting point there. So that's the soft edges option. I'll leave it on. Let's look at another example. Mostly I just kind of brought up different images to look at, and we can see how they perform here. And I have to remember to open it up in the beta, not the original one. I was making that mistake all week. I kept opening things in the old Affinity. Hi, Vela. So yeah, this is a good example of a multi-part selection. So I'll select the owl again here. So I'll click it. It thinks for a little bit. For the most part, it's been pretty fast. I haven't done it too much on this computer. Been doing it more on my laptop, but you know, it's worked fairly well. So for the multi-part selection, hi Pete, if I hold Alt, you can actually see how it's selecting the person there. So if I let go of Alt, let's do it again. So it's kind of selecting the whole person, but you can hold the Alt to kind of sub-select down into it. So if I hold Alt here, you can see it selecting her face and her arms there, even though they're not actually connected. So that's kind of one of the main, I think, use cases of this multi-part thing. And when I say multi-part, what I mean is this checkbox up here. And you can kind of use Alt and then Shift again to further sub-select. So if I press Alt, that's like selecting kind of her skin area. I'm holding Alt, and if I press Shift again, now it's just her face. So it's kind of like these two levels of selecting into something that they've added. And it takes a little while to get used to it, but it's kind of useful. So right now, it's selecting the whole person, but if I wanted to select just her shirt, I would hold Alt. And now it's just her shirt. And you can see it is influenced by where you kind of have your cursor hovering over. Sometimes it's better than others. And I think this is still a thing now where it's like you're going to have to use the refine tool or something still to kind of clean up things a little bit. It's more of like a good first pass. It helps you kind of do things quicker than the selection brush, but it's not quite magically going to select things perfectly yet. You're still going to have to clean things up a little bit, but hopefully it'll kind of improve as time goes on. Let's get another one here. This one I was curious about if we would get both sides of the road here. So what I did is I selected the, let's click our owl. And if I hover over one side of the road, you can see it's actually getting both sides of the road there. So I think that's kind of interesting, or it was. Like that. So, you know, now I have both sides of the road selected. And it didn't quite... I guess it's kind of a matter of opinion whether or not it should have included this fence post or not, but that's something you can always add in later. And I should emphasize, like, what it's doing is just literally giving you a selection. So if you want to go and you want to add more to it, you can, you know, do whatever. You can do the freehand selection tool to add more in. I guess you do this way. I haven't done this part yet, actually. I was using the like the rectangle tool. You could add more in. I thought you could. We need to go on a different level. Oh yeah, like there. Yeah, I need to have the I had the mode not selected right. So if I went to add, now it should be adding in. Maybe not. Anyway, it was working when I was doing it before. But you can like combine it with other selections too. Yeah, so there you see I can like add on stuff, I can subtract if I wanted to, take things out, chop stuff up. So it's giving you a selection that you can further work with there. But yeah, I just kind of was curious about this landscape one, if we get both sides of the road, and it seemed like it would. I was having, you know, sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. Let me find another example of, this was kind of one of my big questions, like what does it consider the same object, you know? So I looked at some window panes here, and I was like, okay, will it actually understand that the area outside the window panes is all the same thing? So I tried it, and let's see what happens. And it doesn't quite seem to understand it. So this is a good example of using the Alt command to subselect. So if I hover over things, it's selecting the whole image. If I press Alt, it's selecting the window pane. And what I can do is I can click on this one, and then I can go and I can click on another one, if I like, usually. It's not finding this one very well. Yeah, sometimes you have to like hover over like just the right pixel. So like this is an example here. Here you're actually seeing it. It is selecting both panes, so that's kind of an interesting one. So with one click, it did think these two areas were related, that middle pane and that bottom one. If I hold Alt here, so I have that. It's not quite like finding all of this yet, so yeah, still has like kind of things to work on, but I think it's like I said, a good beginning for lots of these selections. And if you guys in the chat have used it, let me know. I'm curious like what other people's experiences are, or if you have like particular type of image you want to see me test out right now, let me know and I can search online to see if I find something. Let's find another one here. I have another, yeah, this one's another person one. And this is also like a good example of, it seems to do a pretty good job of kind of selecting a whole person, and then if you press Alt, you know, just selecting that person's skin or something like that. Muriel, you're saying if I lower the gamma, it separates the colors better, and then put the gamma back to normal after selection. A little tip. Oh, cool, interesting. So, Hi-Fi Mario, you're saying when does this release? I'm not quite sure when it releases yet. I'm not sure when the official version will be. So Muriel, you're saying if I lower the gamma, you mean lower or increase? Make it darker or brighter? I'm curious which one you mean. Let's try this. You're saying it's better now than when it's first released, so it'll get better all the time. Yeah, hopefully. I forgot to mention that I saw there was an I downloaded this about 3 days ago, and I saw there was an update yesterday or something. I didn't download the update. I didn't want to break anything just before I went on stream. But you know, there is like a 1 day update that you know, there's another update that came out like a day or so ago. But as far as I know, it didn't do anything with the model. So interesting. Yeah, I guess this is one technique you can try if you get better results like that. Hi-Fi Mario, you're saying you have the 6-month subscription. Oh, so you can't try it if you have that 6-month trial period. Okay. Then you can turn this off. Then you have your selection. So that's a cool trick. Thanks for that. Yeah, I guess you'll have to like play with it and see if like the curves and the levels and the gamma affect it. Gerard, reading your comment. You said you used it, but there were issues with using the refine. It appeared to reverse the foreground and background options. Yeah, sometimes I've noticed that, and I'll use refine in an upcoming example. So we'll see if that improves it or not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let me close these. I think I had one more object selection one to show. And we can look at the subject selection. Let's look at this one. I can't remember what this file was. Yeah, this is just another example. I was curious of a landscape, like what would it actually consider the same stuff. Hi, Building 60 Media. So you can see some of the mountains. It considers those mountains, you know, the same. But again, it's kind of like where you hover the thing. So it kind of it thinks this back mountain is one. So that's kind of nice. So it thinks the background mountain, you know, is separate. That it considers the thing. So you can kind of like play with it and see like what does it actually consider. So now here it's not really separating the boat and the lake very well, I don't think. Yeah. Maybe a little bit, but still, this would be like you'd have to refine it more and look at it more. Hi, Karinia, sorry. Yeah, we're talking about the Affinity 2.6 beta. I'm just kind of showing some examples. And if anyone has like, you know, specific types of photos they want me to try, I can look for like on Splash or the internet or something. But I was kind of looking at we were looking at the object selection tool. Now let's look at the subject selection one. And this one, once again, you need to have that model installed. John Jones, yeah, it does have some uses, I think. I think it's quite promising. Hi, Secmentera. Something I forgot to mention, by the way, earlier is for the Mac requirements. I know some of you guys are on Mac as well. Let me just mention that before I forget. I believe this was referring to a lot of these features where they talk about it. They made it so you need a certain version of the OS to use. Yeah, so you need to be on Catalina, Big Sur, or Monterey. So if you're on one of the older ones, it doesn't support that on the Mac anymore. So you need to be on these Mac OSs, if you guys can see that. But yeah, hopefully if you are, it'll work. Okay, so now we can look at the subject selection. And like I said, for those who came in a little bit after the beginning, to get this stuff to work when you actually install the beta or the upgrade when it finally comes out, you have to go to Edit, Settings, and then on this Machine Learning tab, you have to install these models here. So for the Select Subject one, this is just kind of like a one-click thing where it's supposed to automatically select the subject in your image. So you go to Select, and then Select Subject. This is the new button here. I'll click that. And it starts thinking for a little bit, and it selects the subject here. So Teak, you're saying object selection worked better than subject. Yeah, I kind of agree. It seems like subject selection is designed to save you a couple of clicks, but in my experience, it seems like object selection, I would just rather use that if it's going to work better on the first try, or on, you know, with a couple clicks. But this one seemed to do okay. I'll mask it. So if I added some new layer, new fill layer. Whoops, I don't want to do that. I'm just trying to show you the effect. You know, so this is the how it isolated it. So, you know, not too bad. Got a little like fringing on the edges here. So this is kind of where you would want to use the refine tool to fix these types of things. It's still not quite that sharp. Looks like we lost some of the foot down here. And I don't know if it does that color decontamination I've talked about before. Actually, I can... It doesn't seem like it does. So, yeah. So, hair, obviously, always a problem. I'll show you an example in a little bit of fixing that. Let's look at another example. Here. So again, this is the subject selection. So kind of a nature photo. Let's give it a shot. Select. And select subject. Let's mask it out. So this is kind of like a fur, you know, a situation with an animal with fur. So a classic difficult example here. I think there it did pretty well. Again, we kind of missed some of this area here, but you could even go in the mask and alter it if you wanted. So I could select the brush, you know, paint it back in, fix it a little bit. But actually, this fur came out pretty nice there, actually. Thanks, Breezer, for the super chat. Appreciate it a lot. I'll click like here. I don't know what that does, but I'll click like. I'll click the heart too. Hope your channel's going well too, Breezer. I see your posts and stuff. Looks like things are going awesome over there. If you're into gaming and stuff, Breezer does live streaming for games. So, not sure which game you're playing these days. If you want to let people know. But yeah, I actually kind of like the way the fur came out here. I think it's pretty decent. Let's even when we do different colors, seems like it cleaned it up pretty well. DOA, you're saying, are the selection tools in all three personas? I'm on Affinity Photo here. I'm not actually sure if you mean, is it in like the Pixel persona for Affinity Designer, and is it in the Photo persona for Affinity Publisher? I'm not actually sure. That's a good question. I've just seen it used in the Affinity Photo actual program. God of War Ragnarok, cool. Let's try another one. Let's see what else we got. I was trying to think of like examples of real world stuff, like what type of things do people do. So, you know, here's one. This one's interesting because you have the same color object in a lot of different places. So let's see what it does here. Photo only, Tiki, you're saying? Cool. I think that one actually came out pretty well here. So yeah, I think that's actually fairly decent. Again, we have a little fuzziness around the corner edges here, but for the most part, it's looking pretty good. I just like to try different colors and stuff. Typically, the main ones you want to do are like, I do black, then I'll do white, which white usually obscures problems, so it's kind of not that useful one to look at, but black kind of usually shows you obvious stuff. And then a lot of times, like, I'll do green, some other just really saturated colors to kind of see what's going on. And some colors kind of show it better than others. Like if I do black, his pants look pretty good, but if I do red, you start to see some of the parts coming out there. So I like to mix, I like to try a couple different hues to see how things look. Let's look at another one. This photo is kind of funny. I think it's kind of like a, you know, the worst nightmare of an AI. Let's see what it does. Did I do select subject for this one? Yeah, I did select subject. This one almost feels unfair, but hey, let's see what it does. So yeah, that's interesting. It did a thing. So let's mask it. Yeah, so this is our subject apparently. So something like this is just going to naturally be incredibly hard for literally a human. If you ask two humans to select the subject, I don't know if they would even agree what the subject is, unless you want to consider the subject being all the people together, you know. But we can try object selection on this one. And object selection, you know, works kind of well. You can see it it understands like this person. It understands like this is one person, and that arm around him is like someone else. So this guy here, it kind of understands. Sometimes it doesn't quite like fill in the shape you want it to, right? Like you can see the hands there, like it just kind of misses that final bit that would make it complete. This one here, wow, this is hard. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame it for not understanding these ones here. This is a tricky one. So yeah, I would say, you know, something like this, you might just want to select parts and start adding them together. What else we got going? And yeah, if you guys have like, if you think this would be like useful, like what do you think you would use this for? You know, do you have any use cases like where you think this could solve your problem, or you think you're just going to stick to using the selection brush? Let's try this one. This one kind of is cool because that car and the color is very similar to the background. So here we had this. I'll go over a couple more examples of this tool. I just thought it was kind of fun to play with. So yeah, we're not quite getting the edge there, so that's a little bit of a problem. And it broadened the rock too. Not sure why it thought the rock was a subject with the car, but okay. And finally, let's look at one referring what I talked to earlier. Kind of like a hair nightmare here. So let's see what this does. So if I do select subject. Hi DJR. You can see it has a lot of problems selecting the hair, you know. I wonder if it's been trained on like hair, or if there should be like a specific hair model that is used for this stuff. So in this case, what I would do is I would use the refine tool, and you can use a selection brush. If you click any of the selection tools, it doesn't really matter. I'll click refine here. Let's see if we can clean it up a little bit. So in this case, what I would do is I would just kind of paint through the hair. Hi Aksheet, reading your comment. Please don't stop uploading videos. I'll try to keep at it. Thanks. Hope things are going well in India. I was in Chennai several years ago, way back in 2016 or so. Was there for about 3 weeks. Fell's Adventure. You're saying usually you make your selections manually for quality. Takes time, but you like it. Yeah, that's kind of I think the thing. If you want to actually, you know, have it work the way you want it to, probably you're going to have to get in there and do some of your own selections. So I'm just kind of using the matte feature here for the selection brush. for the refinement tool, I'm sorry. And it's just kind of selecting out some of that blue sky background here. Let's see if we can get it kind of looking better. Let's see how we... Let's just clean it up a little bit. And you go, again, in real life, I'd maybe take some more time, but I'm just kind of looking through it and just kind of removing things. Maybe I'll just trace this edge here. So this is the matte setting. So this is trying to find the, when it's set to matte, when you drag over an area, it understands that that's like a separation of two things. So it's trying to like actually separate them more. So that's the feature that matte is doing. That's the purpose of the matte selection. And let's, so I'll do is I'll select a new layer with a mask. And this will do some more what I said before, the color decontamination. So I'll do this. And I released a video on that like a couple weeks ago. And what this does is it tries to it'll actually alter the color on the fringes a little bit to try to get out some of that background bleeding. So let's do apply. And as usual, looks good from there, but let's test it with different backgrounds. So I think it's okay. Of course, there's some issues, but for the most part, we got rid of a lot of that blue. And we could always clean it up more later. I mean, this is just a really challenging image for anything to do, for anything to work with. Thank Hamuda, KB, appreciate it. So yeah, this was the last example I had for these tools, for this object selection and all that. But I think kind of we looked at some main examples, some landscapes and things like that. Some really challenging ones. Like I said, it's the beta. Hopefully they make some improvements, but I think it's a good start for a lot of things going forward. You can use the refine tool to clean things up a little bit more and kind of go from there. So I think it'll be a time saver in a lot of situations. So we'll see how it progresses. So the other thing was the page management tool in Affinity Publisher, and I don't really have a lot of experience with that. But what I'll do is I'll kind of show you the forum post, and you can kind of look at it if you like. The main thing was that one of the main things too with all these tools, with all these updates, is make sure you back up your original files, especially for these publisher updates. Like, make sure you keep your old Affinity Publisher file saved before you open and save it with the new beta tool, because some of these beta functions, they can save your file in a way that you can't like go backwards or something like that. So back up your old documents with all this stuff. But the main thing with this publisher update is these multi-page spreads. And I guess it's kind of helping for creating like trifold type pamphlets and things like that. So, they give some examples down here of how that can work. And there's some issues and things like that. But that thing, that's kind of the main issue. That's kind of the main feature I saw for this, the publisher side. But yeah, that's the area I'm less familiar with. But if you're interested in more complicated layouts, definitely that's one to check out. And there's some other miscellaneous changes they added on here. Yeah, once again, their disclaimer. They just kind of did some bug fixes for various things. And they're talking some more about the publisher changes, I guess, here. So you can kind of like check the release notes. I won't go over them like one by one, but actually this is the forum here. There was yeah, this is the section with some more kind of the more minor stuff. A lot of it I think is just kind of like little minor bug fixes here and there. But the main, the big headline one is that object selection and subject selection tools. So hopefully that was useful. Kind of gave you guys an insight into how it's working. Like I said, you can sign up for the 2.6 beta, or you can wait till it's released formally. I don't know exactly when that will happen. Usually, I can't even say usually what it is. It's usually maybe like a month or so after that they do it. But yeah, they're gathering feedback now, and they'll release those changes. So that's the 2.6 beta. So I got a request from a viewer to do some design review feedback, and I thought that'd be kind of fun because we haven't done that. We haven't done that ever publicly on this stream. It was something I kind of wanted to do, and I think if you're interested in it, it's certainly a section I'd like to have on these live streams where people submit their their designs or whatever. Originally, I was kind of thinking more of like POD designs, print on demand designs, but it can be anything. If you want feedback on it, and you can submit it to my email address. It's in my YouTube description. But today's submission was from Tanya, so she emailed me. And let me bring up her files here. Just waiting for it to open. And she had this style kind of like these kind of cool posters for like music venues. So I'll kind of scroll through them. We'll just kind of look at them, and I'll talk about them a little bit. But you can see it's almost like the cover image for a music playlist was how she described it. And I think she makes these for fun. I don't know if she publishes these anywhere. But if she does, that's cool. So you have this kind of Korean one. I'll talk about that a little bit. It's very kind of, I assume the audience is kind of, or the subject matter is kind of like, electronic music, things like that. Some ones here. Kind of like an anime thing going on. And then this one here. DJR saying, interested on feedback. Keep this segment. Okay. Yeah, Muriel, definitely talented. I like it. And then she said Sting didn't come to her town, but she kind of just like pretended he did and made a poster for it. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, there's a couple points I'll add. So first of all, like awesome designs. I like the style, of this. I love all the icons and stuff. This one thing that, and again, what I should say is like everything I say is like just, my opinion. So take it with a grain of salt. If you're doing something and it's selling 1 million copies or people love it, just keep going with it. But I'll just kind of give you my take. So yeah, I like this design here. I like the kind of, I would say monochromatic or maybe only 2 colors here. You kind of have this thing where you do it on, I don't know if this is kind of like your signature where you kind of add the palette colors onto the edge. So you've kind of been doing that with all of them. It's kind of cool. I think, in printed design, they used to do that. Like if you look on a lot of printed products, like somewhere you'll find that banner there. The thing that jumped out about me this one, a little bit is the way this title is kind of touching the top edge there. For me, it's just a little unnerving. And this brings up this concept of tangents in design. And tangents is when things kind of just touch, their edges kind of touch in a way that just is a little awkward or unsettling. And there's an article I send lots of people. Let me put this here. If you Google art tangents, I really like this article where he talks about this in photography. So this is an example of a tangent here where things are just brushing into it. They're either just touching each other or they're just adjacent to each other. So you can see here, that's kind of just a compositional, it's a little, I keep saying unnerving, but it's just, your eye just keeps getting drawn to it in the wrong way. It's like your brain wants to make it match or something like that, So there's other examples of tangents in design. This is the first image. Here's another one. 2 things like just barely touching, like that. Another one, a diagonal running into like another shape right there. And this is also like one where like, so here we have a tangent on the edge. It'd be cooler if like this cutting board just kind of went up a little bit more like that. That would be more satisfying, I think. And maybe if the lemon, didn't quite match the edge of the bottle. I guess what I'm trying to say is like overlaps are more satisfying than when things are perfectly lined up with each other. We like to have things kind of like overlapping. It gives more of a sense of depth. I think that's the main thing that this causes. It causes a lack of depth when you have that. But yeah, I don't know if the before and after example is kind of strange here, but this is kind of the concept, I would say. So again, whether or not that's a problem in this one, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think it's intentional that you kind of put it there. Maybe I would just kind of like a little bit more space, but that's just perhaps me. But I like I love the color scheme. I think it gets the point across very clearly. And it's very readable at a distance too. So this is something I'll do with all of these, which is that, he says for a playlist. I mean, people are going to be looking at it on their phone, I assume, and it's going to be like, it's going to be like this big when they look at it, right? So this is like how everything is going to look on their phone. And I think generally it's pretty readable. Like I can see, when I say readable, I mean the image is clear. We can see like what's happening here. So if that was on my phone or something, I could understand it. Some of the other ones might be harder in that way. Let's look at this one, this dance one. Again, I kind of like the style. Immediately I kind of just understand the genre you're going for. Like it's dance, but there's like electronic elements with the sparkles and kind of like these futuristic signs. I'm not quite sure. You have this text Jano Jamie on a lot of your designs. I'm assuming maybe that's your publishing label or something like that. But that's pretty cool. I'm not sure which way it goes, because on some of them it looks like over here it's Jano, and over here it's kind of the other way around. So I was a little unclear on that. In terms of things, it took me a while to figure out that this was a dancer. So perhaps maybe start with a more obvious graphic and then kind of like distort it a little bit more or something. Like I didn't quite see that. I thought maybe, again, it's an abstract image, but maybe it could be a little more clear that it's actually a dancer. And I see you're also kind of going for this textured effect. I'm not sure if this is like, if you're trying to like replicate like an album cover, like maybe it's supposed to be an album that's been worn and torn over the years or something like that. If so, one thing I thought that was kind of interesting, I did this once a while ago, so I thought I'd mention it. You can get these kind of like graphics, right, that are like worn album covers and stuff like that. So you can kind of get these types of things. So I'll take like this one here. I'll copy this image. And I'll paste it in here. So kind of make it look like it's like an album or something like that. And let me trim it a little bit. Again, I don't know if this is your intent, but it's just kind of like a technique you could use in the future if you're interested. So you can kind of like get this going like that, and you can kind of fit it over your album cover here. And this is very it's a little too bright, this one, so I'll do the I think I'll do the levels, make it darker. But now if I set it to like screen, you can see it kind of looks like it's the cover of an album. And like the record is like kind of worn into the edges there. So let me do before and after. So this is before, after, before, after. So whether or not that's the effect you want, I'm not sure, but it's kind of something that is possible you could do there. And you can kind of tweak it a little bit more to get a little more vibrance there, but that's kind of one way to approach it. So cool design there. This one's interesting. The colors are very interesting. And so you talked about kerning and things like that. So I lived in Korea for about 5 years, actually. And so my eye went right to the text. I'm not sure if you are familiar with what the text says here, but I'll show you what it says. So it's called Deli Spiced Chow Chow. So this is a little separated out because what's happening is that there is saying deli. And this part's saying spice. So I think for your Korean readers, it's going to be a little awkward for that. Like this is the del right here, so it's going to be a little too much distance there, perhaps. And this here, this is chow. So that's chow 1, chow 2. And this does say spice. It doesn't say spiced, so I'm not sure. And this is just kind of a minor thing. But if this is if they're actually super strict about how their English translation is, that would be there's no D on this one. But yeah, I like it. Definitely cool colors. I think what I would say is perhaps just group that and hide it. Like these guys in the background, maybe I would have a more stronger, let me hide this again too. maybe just a more stronger like example of like foreground and background, or like maybe make this more of a silhouette or like a shadow form behind them, just because I can't quite see their I don't know, I'm finding this part harder to, I wish this was a stronger element that contrasted with the foreground here. Is kind of what I'm saying. Andy, you're saying go outside of the artboard. Yeah, you can. If you go totally out, it'll show. If you're kind of halfway, it won't show. And also, you might need to enable clipping. Yeah, this is fine. It'll show. But yeah, if you go like halfway, it won't. But if you go fully out, then it'll do that. So yeah, I use that a lot. How much time do you have left? 15 minutes? Okay. This one I like a lot. I don't have much to say about this one. I just think it's super cool. Same thing with this one. I like it a lot. Only issue maybe, like, again, I would say, like these characters, maybe it's going to be very hard to read on a phone. Maybe you want to make them bigger or something. Because again, it's going to look like this for most people. So maybe emphasize that part a little bit more. I think it's going to be kind of hard to see. This one here, this one reminded me of like a Saul Bass poster. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him. Let's look at some examples. I'm going to Google live on stream, which I say I'm never going to do. But so Saul Bass, this is a graphic designer. And Tanya, I'm sure you're familiar with him if you've studied graphic design. But this was kind of like what it reminded me of, a lot of that design here. Well, that's someone imitating Saul Bass. Where's the one for like Vertigo? It kind of has that same feel. That's kind of what it reminded me of, that design. So I think it's a cool aspect to it. Maybe I wouldn't, maybe repeating the text so much, kind of maybe use another element to wrap around it, and use the word in a more limited way is what I'd say. Let's go back to the Saul Bass examples. Because I don't really see an example. Again, you don't have to like copy Saul Bass. I'm just using him as an example. Usually he has a very kind of clear, the words are fairly clear. And half of these like people imitating him, so it's hard to actually say like what's truly his. But I did the video on this one once. But usually the words are fairly straightforward, and they're kind of like handmade. It's like, and I think that's what I would say actually, now that I think about it, maybe have like a handmade element to it. The font I think is also kind of a little basic. I would say maybe go for a more rougher font, something that looks a little more, chaotic. This is kind of a chaotic thing. This guy's in the middle of this whatever storm, this vortex. Maybe have a little bit more distressing feel to the font here, something that's a little less stable. Breezer, reading your comments. Would I look at your vertical thumbs? Sure, I'll take a look at them. Just remind me somehow after the stream if I forget, but I'll check them out. Yeah, if you want to send me a message, if I can do it like on the next stream, we have too. And then we have this Sting one. This is also super cool. You said it's kind of like a concert you imagined possibly happening. Again, just the text is very small, but I don't know if we're really supposed to read it. We're just kind of supposed to get the sense that like there's information here, and if someone cared to, they could learn more about it. The only thing about this one that's a little uneasy for me is like this word here, and it's kind of like it's like half of it's starting to kind of do something different, and then it's all kind of the same. And I don't know, I guess I kind of felt like maybe continue with that idea. Maybe like, Sting as a bass player. I don't know, maybe make the word Sting in the shape of a bass, or just do something even more, like mess up, like, pull up these other letters even more too, or something like that. That's just my quick little note there, mock-up. But like maybe play with a couple different versions. And that's something I would say when you're trying to do these things is, like, if you're going to do something like this, like, the name Sting, and you want to make it kind of look unique, like make like 10 or 12 different versions and just like copy and paste it, right? So let's look at an example of this. So let's do this here. So let me do this. I'll do like a separate letter for each one, right? So let's make the word sting. Okay, so like we have one version, right? So we'll do our crazy, you know, sting or whatever, you know, something crazy like that. Then we'll do another version, you know, and we'll just keep iterating on it. And again, I'm not saying like this is the best design ever. I'm just saying like this is kind of the way you would like mess with things, you know. And then we do another version, and then we just keep kind of like going from there. And it's just like iterating over it, you know. You just kind of like build up a thing where you just keep like, you know, trying different stuff over and over again. And you just kind of keep going. So something like that. But I'm saying is like when I do a logo or design or something, if I look at my files, I'll have like, you know, 10 rows that just look of like variations of things like that, you know. Obviously they look better than that, but that's just kind of an example of like how to quickly make things different to give yourself options and to track like the progress of your work. So you don't feel like you're ever permanently changing something. You can always just like copy it, you know, and then do another one. Let's choose some other font, you know. That's another font there, you know. You can do that. You can just keep going. You know. So you get all these options really quickly. But yeah, overall super cool stuff. I like a lot of it. Just, you know, some of my thoughts, but yeah, thank you so much for submitting it. If anyone else wants to pitch in and have their stuff get some feedback live on stream, be happy to talk about it. But yeah, so thank you so much again, Tanya, for your submission. Hope it was helpful, and let us know how it goes with these images in the future. So I thought I'd wrap up with just a few questions, answering some questions on some of the videos I got this week. And if anyone has any questions in the chat they want to ask, feel free to ask them. I've released a couple of videos on OBS, and that's a tool I like using a lot for streaming and for recording my videos. And I got this one from Big Daddy Zant, and he said when it came to Affinity, he couldn't actually record the Affinity window when using OBS. He was asking me if I was using EXE or MSI. Yeah, I can't remember exactly which one I installed, but I just record my whole desktop, and that picks up the Affinity screen when it's on it. But I do remember, I think I had this exact same issue, if not with Affinity, with some other programs, where they don't actually show up in the OBS recording for some reason. There's something about the way the process works on the operating system where it just doesn't show up in the graphics when you try to get the source or something. So in this case, I believe I do record the whole screen when I make my Affinity videos. So that's kind of how I did that. Got a couple questions on the Gling video for AI editing, and Bailey Wabbit asks, he's at the beginning of his YouTube journey, cool, saying, how do I like DaVinci Resolve comparison to others like Premiere, CapCut, Final Cut Pro, etc.? Yeah, I love DaVinci Resolve. I recommend if anyone's at any stage of video editing, whether you're a beginner or experienced, I love it, and I recommend trying it because the free version does like, I use the free version and it does like everything I need. It's fast, it's fully featured, it has like amazing features. I've used Premiere briefly in the past. I've used CapCut a little bit, but you know, for desktop editing, cutting stuff together, I really like DaVinci, and I think it's becoming very popular these days too. So it's free, has everything you want. Like, how could you ask for anything more? So I recommend trying it out. And Cherubim asks, can I create a video on how to edit videos using an app like InShot or CapCut? Yeah, I might do some CapCut videos. I do have some DaVinci videos coming out eventually. I have a list of ideas. I want to script them and I want to shoot them because I've been using DaVinci for several years now. So I think I have some ideas on, you know, how to give tips for it and stuff like that. So I will be releasing some video editing videos soon. So stay tuned. Got this question from Dr. Watson is Mine. He says he's not familiar with Canva. What is it and is it useful for photography? So Canva is a web-based graphic design program. It's kind of very much a template-based system, and it's really aimed at kind of a lot of people that just want to use like, basic features. And it's quite popular, for creating posters. People use it for just automatically getting their YouTube thumbnails created, anything. Like people use it for print on demand. And it's kind of like a beginner entry-level graphic design tool. So I've been making some tutorials on it, and I've used it for some things too. It has lots of good AI features like this image upscale I mentioned in the video. So is it useful for photography? If you're used to professional photography tools, you're not going to like Canva. I mean, I don't use it for designing things or editing photos, but I do use it for certain tools it has, like background removal and some other kind of more sophisticated AI-based stuff. But, it's going to be, you're going to feel like you have one hand tied behind your back if you're going from Affinity Photo to Canva. So I wouldn't recommend like using it for that. And this user here, Chanta, asks, is it free to use? There is a free tier, but there's also a paid level too. But you can do a lot of stuff with the free level. So Andy, reading your question. Oh, Breezer, you're saying you use Vegas Pro. Yeah, I've heard about that. I've never actually used it, but I've heard good things about it. Andy, you're saying you wish more people knew about the harmful impacts that AI is causing. Yeah, it's quite process intensive in a lot of situations. A lot of these models, they take a lot of energy to train. So hopefully things will become more efficient as time goes forward. These data centers, a lot of them are spending a lot of time, training AI these days. We'll see. Maybe it's a one-time cost. Maybe it is. I don't know, but we'll see going forward. Teak, reading your comments. Saying you're not sure if they're the same as the iPad, but there's a presentation mode. Could it be that? I'm not sure what you mean by presentation mode. I'm not sure what you're referring to for that. Was that Yeah, let me know what you mean by presentation mode. Yeah, Andy, I've seen some plants are being reinstated. I got this other question here, kind of a random question, but they asked. I knew someone was going to ask it. I made the video about Affinity, the GMIC filter on the GMIC tool on Affinity Photo, and someone asked what I use for the thumbnail image. I use the comic book filter under Artistic. For OBS, yeah, there's a presentation mode on it, and I haven't used it. I want to find something else to do these slides with, so we'll see. But yeah, OBS, I'm looking at right here. There is a way you can. I'm afraid to like press any of the buttons while I'm streaming because I'll probably break it. But there is a slideshow mode on OBS, but I'm not sure if that's what is causing that person's issue. Yep, no more questions. Yeah, so that was the last question I had. I'll stand for a couple minutes more if you guys have any other questions. But yeah, like I said, that was the 2.6 beta. I think it's pretty promising, and we'll see how it goes from there. There probably won't be a stream next week. I have some stuff going on next weekend. I don't know if I'll have a chance to put stuff together, but I'll be back the following weekend. And I think we'll probably be talking about Midjourney that week. I mentioned it last week, Andy, referring to your AI thing there. But I do think there's like a lot of stuff to cover on that topic. And even if you're not using it, it might be an educational session on like what is possible these days and what people are using it for. I use it for several things. And, I think it'll be good to kind of give a tutorial, like a crash course on how to do that. And I may even kind of weave Affinity into it also, because a lot of things that come out of AI these days, like imagery, you don't want to really just use it straight out of the box. You want to modify it. You need to make some fixes. You need to make it your own. You need to make it unique, and I think the best use cases for it these days are using the elements it gives you as part of a greater design. So 2012, reading your comments. Has the preview icon bug been resolved with this beta version? I'm not sure. So you're saying, is that for printing or like exporting? I'm not sure which bug you're referring to for the preview icon, if you want to elaborate on that. No problem, Breezer, Teak, and Hector. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what the preview icon bug was that you're talking about, but yeah, if you look at the notes, maybe you can see if it's been there. So if you Google the Affinity 2.6 release notes, it'll 2.6 beta release notes, it will tell you. Thanks so much, Mira. Appreciate it a lot. DJR, also thank you. Thank you so much. What can I do here? Let's see. Can I click? All right. Well, thank you, Muriel. No heart option for me to click, but I appreciate it a lot, and glad it was helpful. Thanks again, DJR. So that's all I had for the stream today. Hope it was useful, and yeah, I'll see you guys probably in about 2 weeks. I don't think I'll be here next week, but have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Take care.